on My First Step Ever. This is the podcast where we uncover the hardest steps that someone has taken to take their first step, because the first steps are the most difficult ones to take. What really goes behind a person's success, however they like to turn the success, is something. What is the most important, utmost important, is what is the mindset that they had while they were doing it all by themselves, or while they were learning that what needs to be done to be there what they want to, how they have really pulled those nights where they felt you don't know what's happening, what will be the next step. Sometimes we are not able to be that self, our best selves, that can take us to the next level. But what is that ingredient that keeps that person going on even in the toughest of the times? And that is what marks the conviction that you'll have in your goals and keep doing. So please join me in welcoming a world renowned and also Australia's top influential women on this podcast, Pauline Nguyen. Pauline, welcome on My First Step Ever.
Thank you so much for having me. It is my joy to be here. I do want to make a little bit of a tweak. I heard you say that I'm the most influential woman in Australia. That's not true. What do you mean by that?
I'm going to get to that. Influential in the sense that you inspire and you influence a whole lot of people to be themselves, to be the spiritual entrepreneur that you are. And I think it's a very interesting combination. And I'm going to get a little bit of sneak peek about you to our listeners before we move into the questions today. And before we do that, I really have to kind of tell my listeners that we had a little bit of a glitch over here. I actually messed up the time. So I would really like to thank Pauline for, staying on and doing this for me and for all of you over there. So Pauline, we are really grateful for you to, be so understanding and let that glitch of time difference be. So thank you so much once again. And
bless you.
for
That's
my
okay.
listeners,
I'm here.
yeah, so let's get into this. I'm going to give you a sneak peek about Pauline. A lot of people already know her, but for a lot of new listeners over there, Pauline Nguyen escaped a war-torn Vietnam as a toddler and spent a year in Thai refugee camp before reaching Australia. Overcoming tremendous physical and emotional abuse, she became the top development coach, entrepreneur, award-winning author, and international keynote speaker. Now, this is a story worth telling, worth sharing, and worth knowing. Described by HuffingPost as the most grounded spiritual entrepreneur on the planet. And she's one of the Australia's top 50 influential female entrepreneurs and featured in 200 women who will change the way you see the world. Now we want to be here and listen to this person, that how is that going to happen? She is the co-founder of the award-winning Red Lantern restaurant. So check that out if you're there. And she won the 2012 Telstra Business Award. Her acclaimed books, The Way of Spiritual Entrepreneur and The Secrets of Red Lantern, are bestsellers. Her dynamic speaking style captivates audiences worldwide. So we are in for a lot of learning today, my friends. Everyone who is listening to us, watching us, let's dive straight into this. My first question to you is, and I think I would be very interested to kind of know while you were growing up, I know that you had a very challenging childhood, but we would like to know if any highlights that you would like to take us through, that what was the environment that you were growing up and how did it shape you back then?
I grew up in a very violent, abusive, physically abusive, emotionally abusive, mentally and especially spiritually abusive upbringing. My father suffered terribly from post-traumatic stress disorder. We are refugees. We escaped Vietnam by boat just after the war. I was 3 years old at the time. My brother Lewis was 2. My mother was also pregnant with my brother Luke. We ended up 9 days at sea and in a Thai refugee camp for a year when we landed after the 9 days. We were only meant to spend 6 months, 6 months or so, but we ended up there for a year. And in 1978, Australia finally accepted us. And we came as refugees, we came as with nothing. And along with all the trauma, along with all the abuse that my father suffered himself during the war, there wasn't a lot of understanding around trauma at the time. And so coming to a new country with no sense of the systems, no money, having a wife who was sick with tuberculosis, as well as 2 young children and a newborn. There was a lot of pressure on my father. He didn't know what to do with his anger. And so he dumped his anger on my mother, and soon he dumped his anger on us kids as well. So growing up was surrounded by fear. I know what fear smells like. The mindset I had at the time was how to not get beaten up, how to not get in trouble. And so growing up, my father also was quite the entrepreneur. There's a suburb in Cabramatta. There's a suburb called Cabramatta in Sydney's outer western suburbs. And he built quite the empire there. We had a video library, an ice cream parlor, a restaurant, a cafe, as well as a driving school that he operated on the side. And us kids provided the child labor. And so we learnt a ferocious work ethic at a very young age. And on top of all of this, we had to get good grades as well. Otherwise, a firm beating always ensued. And so I know what it's like to work hard. I know the consequences of not working hard. And so that was my environment growing up. At 16, 17, I'd had enough and I ran away from home. And I brought with me everything that I learnt. And there started my spiritual journey, having left home. So I hope that gives you a good idea of what it was like growing up and what I was surrounded by.
Yes, it does, Pauline. And thank you for opening up, sharing that. It is definitely a very deep rooted and a very challenging aspect for anyone's life. And not many of us are in that situation. So we definitely not know what it is to be, where you
It's
are.
great that not everyone is in that position.
Yes, very, very, very much. Even though, like, while growing up, a lot of us do suffer different kind of, mental traumas, or, different kind of situations that we are put in. Sometimes we are just not able to come out of that. We keep stretching that as much as we can, and we keep having a mindset where we keep blaming those things, that's the reason that I'm not able to go forward. But that is something that you have been able to break with whatever, you know the foundation that was laid for you growing forward. So once you did run away from that entire world and came to your new little world, and you mentioned that you did carry along some lifelong learnings with you. So please take us through the first year when you were living all by yourself. If you can take us through, what were the challenges that you faced and how did you overcome those?
Well, I spent many years hiding from my father. If he knew where I was, he would beat me up. He would probably kill me. And so I think one of the important lessons for your listeners and the theme of my First Step Ever podcast is to understand that you don't need to do it yourself. You can't do it yourself. We have to have people to assist us. I had friends to assist me. I had friends to assist me when I was in hiding. I had teachers, and it all starts with a decision. If you grow up and you are carrying the stories and the trauma, and every year as there is the traumatic event, the stuff, the shit that happened. And then there is the trauma, your body constantly reminding you of that event that happened however many years ago. And it really starts with a decision. My decision was that I am not going to live my life as victim. I refuse to live my life as victim. Many don't like to make that decision. Many like to hold on to victimhood. That is their choice. And so it depends what you aspire to be. If you're the personality that inspires to have people feel sorry for you, if you inspire to have the person who consistently feels this sense of certainty every time you regurgitate and reiterate and repeat the stories of old, knock yourself out, carry on. But I reckon not very many good things are going to come to you, because we become our words. and our words become us. We become our thoughts and our thoughts become us. We become our associations become us. We become our environment and our environment becomes us. And so I had two choices. Do I now live my life and see myself as victim, or do I stop and think I am the beneficiary of all the things that happened to me?
Wow.
What are the benefits? I learned a ferocious work ethic. I know what fear smells like. I know what I need to do in order to reframe what fear is. Fear, false evidence appearing real. Fear, false emotions appearing real. Fear, false evidence appearing real. And so that what I experienced in my childhood years is not my reality anymore. Why am I going to continually repeat feelings and emotions and lessons? So it really starts with your decision. What decision do you want to make? And from that decision comes permission. Do I now have permission to let that go? Do I now give myself permission to get a bloody good coach, good teachers, new environment, new friends, new associations? And so decision and permission are big, big things, rather than holding on to the emotions that you're addicted to, and understanding that emotions are, you get to be addicted to them. And so the mindset that I had in those years was, I refuse to be victim. I will look back at my life not as victim. I will look back at my upbringing as the beneficiary. This is a very firm decision. I will live my life by absolute design and not by default. And then once that happens, and then we do the work, it involves a lot of work. It's not as simple as saying, what was that one moment that changed the game for you? There's so many moments. There's years of moments. But then you get to look back, and I get to look back at my life as the beneficiary and see it as my training. That was my training. And so decision and permission. And then, of course, action and implementation, right?
That's exactly where we are getting. But before that, I want to kind of highlight a few things that you have mentioned over here, which is so important. The first step is the mindset. And before even you can even shift your mindset, it is the thought, the process, that particular thought that you can have, that I am the beneficiary of whatever situation which I feel has not played out my way. And even if something has played out your way, you again are the beneficiary in a lot of in a very direct way. I mean, you do understand what has been good for you, but where the situations are not according to what you feel is good, you still can learn from that. And I love how you have mentioned that decision making, it is in our own hands. And while it might sound very for a lot of us, because when we are in that situation, when we can really not get out of our own mindset, all this sounds so overwhelming. So Pauline, over here, I would like to ask the second question that you did mention, that now we know that the mindset, the thought, the associations, that is what we need to start working on to begin with. But the next important step is actually implementing. So how did that go in your journey? How did you actually start implementing those?
I think one of the important things to also is that you speak a lot to mindset. Mindset. In my experience as a coach, a teacher, a mentor, when we speak only of mindset, it takes a very long time, right? So to understand that we, in our wholeness, as in you, your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit, in your wholeness is the instrument of consciousness. Consciousness is more than just mind. You now have to speak about your health set. How can you, it doesn't matter how your mindset is going. If you have a really unhealthy, low vibration, low vitality, low power body, and so then you've also got to work on your health set. Without your health, you can't do anything. And when you get to my age, I'm 52. I have a 19-year-old daughter, a 15-year-old son. I have multiple businesses. In our age, we can't just be talking about mindset. You also have to think about your health set. And then, of course, your heart set. What would love do? How kind will you be? How generous will you be? How much will you not betray yourself? How much will you defend your rights? So we also have to look at heart set. And then, of course, for me, the most important of all, your soul set, your spirit, that charge, that ember, that power that charges it all. And so when we only categorize our evolution with the mind alone, it's going to be a very hard journey, because your mind could be, if you were to call it, the person in the driver's seat, but without the engine, your spirit, without the vehicle, your body, without the intention of your heart, it's going to be a very, very slow moving vehicle. You may even be driving with no driver at the steering wheel. And so we have to also be speaking about mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. I think those are very, very important decisions and intentions to make. Why am I going so slow? You know what? Because I'm unhealthy. There's no power. There's no vitality. Why am I angry all the time? Because I haven't used my heart. My heart is the barometer for the future. Why am I uninspired? Because you haven't worked on your spirit, your inspiration, understanding that spirit has nothing to do with religion, right? It is religion that needs spirituality. And so how's your spirit going? And you know what? When those four things all unite, man, you will be a force. You will be a force to be reckoned with. And so I also believe that whatever situation you find yourself in, you just got acceptance is really big. Acceptance. This may be a really shitty experience that I'm having now, but can I accept? And this is going to be a bitter pill to swallow for many of your listeners. Can I accept that everything that I am experiencing at the moment, the situation that I'm finding myself in, can I have absolute acceptance that it is because of me that I am here right now? I deserve everything that I'm talking about grown ass adults here, right? I'm not talking about children under the, responsibility and care and have no power because adults. I'm talking in context, right? But can I have absolute acceptance that where I am in life is because of the decisions I made, the people I'm around, the way I think, the way I feel, the way I love? Can I have absolute acceptance that I'm here right now because of me? And then we practice radical personal responsibility. What is this all in aid of? It's all in aid of power, of empowerment. I'm not talking about force, I'm talking about power. And so what is this all in aid of? Wait a minute. If I got myself here and I don't like where I am, then I can also get myself out of here. But understanding that every moment you find yourself in, whichever direction it takes, depending on your mindset, heart set, health set, soul set, you know that whatever situation you're in is going to be important for your spiritual evolution. Because how can it not be? Whatever direction you find, how can it not be? Whatever happens from then on will be important and vital for your spiritual evolution, because there's always going to be learnings along the way. So there's a lot of acceptance there. There's a lot of surrendering there. There's a lot of faith there. There's a lot of determination there as well, because the life we live has to be the lessons that we teach. You have to live that life before you can teach it, right?
Absolutely right. And these are some really great additions to, I think, my own thought process as well. And while you were saying that, Pauline, I know that I have felt that and I have gone through those situations. And when you do have your life focused in one aspect of your entire life and you fall short in the other aspects, health, heart, soul, or even any other aspects that you feel is the aspect of your life, concentrating on one of the aspects becomes, you're not operating at your level best. And that is such a great addition to what I could deliver over here. So thank you so much for adding that for our
Yeah, because
audiences and myself.
I've gone and listened to speakers, and I've gone to listen to people who claim to be teachers and mentors, and they talk a lot about mindset, right? And we've heard that for many years, but we've lived. So many people are suffering because they've been mind centric rather than heart centric and soul centric. And then I sit back and go, why should I listen to you to talk about mindset when you're clearly unhealthy, you're clearly overweight, you can hardly breathe properly? And so, how about I listen to someone who is whole, who is in their wholeness, or striving to be whole?
Absolutely. And I think this kind of really makes us expand our thought process as well, especially for the young adults listening to us. Another thing that you mentioned is accepting that you are responsible for the situation that you are in your life. This sounds hard, but this is the reality. And I think it took myself a bit of time to kind of, really understand that it is my responsibility if I'm not feeling good in a certain aspect in my life. So I have migrated to a new country as well. And the first thing that really hits hard to you is that you don't feel at home. You don't have the people that you can, connect with or rely back. But then whose responsibility is that?
Yeah.
Because this is a decision that I have taken. So it's my responsibility to create that sense of home. And that was the first thing that I think I learned in the last 1 year, I would say that. And thank you so much for, bringing that aspect over here. I love about the health set, the heart set, the soul set, and the mindset. So, given all this, when we talk about in the wholeness of a person, the consciousness, raising a consciousness to the next level, Pauline, I would really like you to share with our listeners that when that process was taking place for you, what if there was anything that you felt, this is maybe your aha moment, that this is what has really helped me flourish in all aspects of my life, and you think that that is something, or maybe that is something that the listeners or our young friends over there, or anyone who's listening to their podcast, can really tap into and feel that happiness in all the aspects as a whole.
These are always questions that I'm actually loath to answer, to be honest with you, because it doesn't serve to just put it down to one pinpoint moment. It makes it too simplified, too
Mm.
simplified. And so we can speak to like practical things that you should do. And so I love when you were sharing your story about home. I think it's our privilege, it's our right, it's also our opportunity and responsibility to travel as much as possible. We don't climb mountains so people can see us. We climb mountains so that we can see the world. And to the young listeners, go travel, go live your life. But this is what I'd love to offer you, is that home is here. Your true home is here in your mind. Your true home is here in your heart. So when there's nothing missing in your wholeness, you're not missing home. You're not missing your lover. You're not missing mom and dad, right? And obviously in this day and age, we have the beautiful platforms such as, FaceTime and Zoom and WhatsApp to stay in touch with our loved ones. So can we take our home, which is right here in our pineal gland, right here in our mind, Can we take our home right here in our heart? Then when we are home there, when we work on this instrument of consciousness, everywhere is home. Everywhere can be home. And we get so expansive in that, because then we don't have anything missing. I know it's hard to understand for a lot of listeners at this age, but again, something to work for, to look forward to. So, and then we don't suffer, because pain is inevitable. We've all had the traumatic experience. Pain is inevitable, but the suffering, your choice in suffering is your choice in suffering. And so, so many of the things that have happened to us, I had no power on, how much I was abused as a child, but my healing, that's my responsibility. No one else's responsibility, but that's my responsibility in the healing. And so these are big concepts, really big concepts, that I think would do an injustice to say, oh, it was that one moment in my life, or it's that one idea. And I've done so many podcasts, and I think to have that question asked, you really oversimplify something to the point where it's not of service, And so it would be important to share with the young listeners, some really great tips on your journey, rather than just saying that one moment in my life, right? And so get teachers, get good coaches, get good mentors, someone who has walked the walk, someone who has experienced life, not a teacher who's done a $7 weekend NLP course and has lived no life, right? But you understand that you can't do it yourself until you can do it yourself. But you can get there faster by getting some really good teachers. Go live life. Go get those challenges, go travel the world, and then become teachers, whether it be a teacher as a parent, teaching your children, teaching your spouse, teaching your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it is. But go live your life, because the life you live are the lessons that you teach, right? And continue to contribute in that way. And so when I really started understanding that whatever I live is going to be in service for the lessons I want to teach my children, for my followers, for my students, for my clients. And so one of the first questions to ask, a really valuable question, is, what do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? What do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? I'm going to give your listeners 3 valuable questions. What does that mean? I want to feel healthy. Go get a coach, a teacher to make you feel healthy. I want to feel inspired. Go do something that makes your heart sing. I want to be connected to the essence. Go access nature's medicine. Go swim in the ocean. Go get sun on your face. Go speak to your friends. I need connection. That question, what do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? Because the more you feel from the heart space, the more you become a magnet to everything that your heart desires. Now we can give a big discourse on frequency and vibration and all of that, right? But that's a whole different podcast. What do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? And so in those moments in time where you are experiencing sadness or aloneness or loneliness, your choice if you want to focus on that feeling, but we can move through those feelings. And this is a whole other podcast. It takes 90 seconds to move through that feeling, understanding the lesson, and then what do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel now, right? Every moment you find yourself in, if you want to wallow in that feeling, that's your choice. But I wondered if a better question would be now, what trait do I need to access in order to help myself more? Do I need more patience? Do I need more confidence? Do I need more energy? Wait a minute, do I need another skill set? If I'm, for example, finding myself in a bit of a financial situation, do I need to learn more about finances and wealth? Okay, and so the second question after that question, what do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? What traits do I need? The second question now is, who do I need in my orbit to help me to get to where I want to go faster? Who do you need? Do you need a trainer? Do you need a coach? Do you need a mentor? Do you need a singing teacher to make, I want to be able to, who do you need? But then you've also got to become attractive, right? Yes, looks helps as well. But what are the words that you speak? What is the energy that you emit? What are the people you hang around? Who do I need in my orbit to help me to get to where I want to go faster? It could be, I need to scale up my business. Who do you need? Who do you need? And then become attractive. And then by attractive, do I need to learn the skill of influence and persuasion and human behavior? Go learn those skills to attract the people into your orbit to help you to get to where you want to go faster, because you can't do it alone until you can do it alone. Third, very, very valuable question. What would love do? What would love do? What would love for myself do? What would love for my family do? What would love for my profession, my customers, my clients, my students? What would love do? What would love for nature and humanity do? So those very important questions. What do I need to do to feel the way I want to feel? Who do I need in my orbit to help me to get to where I want to go faster? And then what would love do? And I think as an overarching theme, these are big, big concepts rather than just putting in a small one. Big concepts. I believe that we're here on this earth in this lifetime to do 3 things. First is to evolve. To evolve. Will you sit and wallow in your sorrow and suffer, or do you want to freaking evolve? Then decide. Decide if you're going to be victim or beneficiary. Decide. And so we are here to evolve. We are here to then, secondly, push our humanity forward. Our humanity forward being the species, our human species, and also our humanity. my humanity, my heart, my spirit, on a personal level, on a eyes in as well as an eyes out level. And the third is evolve, push humanity forward, and to do it with joy, to do it with joy. That's the part that people forget, because if you do it with joy, then you're going to access your heart set, then you're going to access your health set and your spirit set, versus just being in your mind. And so I think that's much more valuable to speak about those concepts rather than what was that one moment in your life.
This has been such a great learning experience for me. In the last couple of minutes, it has made me kind of, sit through, listen, and reflect on a lot of things. And thank you so much, Pauline, for adding so much value. I'm really grateful to you for making me and also a lot of listeners kind of, understand that number one, that you can't give what you don't have. Number two, that you can't do everything on your own. And number three, that it is about you actually elevating yourself as a whole and looking into yourself as a whole. And personally, for me, looking into questions that can actually help us, bring those value out from the guest speakers who have really lived what they are kind of, sharing right now. So thank you so much, Pauline. It has been such a great experience having you on the podcast. It has definitely made some, you know um, definitely made impact in the way that I am kind of processing, and how I can, maybe make it more impactful. The real thing that can come out from is how our listeners, everyone, can actually create that life, what they want to do to feel the way that they want to feel. I think that is the greatest learning that has stuck with me today. So thank you so much, Pauline, for being on my first step ever. Very, very kind, generous, and grateful for you to be here. And as I always request my guest speakers to leave our listeners with a quote or a saying that they really resonate with.
I have so many quotes and sayings in my book, The Way of the Spiritual Entrepreneur. I've written 2 books. The first book is called Secrets of the Red Lantern. I won Debut Writer of the Year for that. My latest book, The Way of the Spiritual Entrepreneur, The 7 Secrets to Becoming Fearless, Stress-Free, and Unshakable in Business and in Life. In the year of its release, that book won Best Entrepreneurship and Small Business Book Award. There are so many quotes and so many life lessons in that book. I recommend it highly, especially for those who are starting out on their business journey, on their entrepreneurship journey, but who want to, and those starting their spiritual journey. Spirituality is a tool. It's a platform. It's a lens to live your life in spirit and inspired. The most in spirit and inspired people I know have done the most amazing things. And we all get together and, one of the quotes that I mentioned earlier, and I'll reiterate the quote, is that we become our thoughts. Our thoughts become us. We become our words, the words that we speak. The words that we speak become us. We become our associations, and our associations become us. We become our environment, and our environment becomes us. We must choose them wisely.
Wow, what a great note to end this episode on. Thank you so much, Pauline, for reiterating that in this episode today and in our conversation. And that is very powerful. I'm taking a lot back from this session with you today. So I'm very excited that I could have this time with you. And also for everyone who's listening to us, I'm sure it has changed something in the way that they think and what they like to apply in their life. So thank you so much for being on my first step ever. And for everyone who's interested to know more about what Pauline does or what you can learn from her, I'm going to leave the links in the show notes. Do follow her. To all my listeners out there, I like to say, as I always say, before that, I like to thank Pauline for being on the podcast. And just wrapping up this episode by saying, start believing in yourself and keep believing in yourself.